What life-changing item can you buy for less than $100? A decent dash cam. I scoffed at the idea of a dash cam for years. A friend told me to try it out and it helped me out when I got in an accident a couple years back. A library card free if you live in the library's district, a fee if you are a non-resident. So many resources for self-improvement and growth, and so many free alternatives to paid services. Rice cooker, that fucker kept me fed during COVID when I barely had the energy to get out of bed. What is the strangest law that is still in effect in your country today, excluding the US? In sub-Saharan Africa, they're pretty tough on poachers. In some places they can be dealt with on site, but you wouldn't want to be captured and convicted as one either. Laws vary widely and enforcement is sometimes outsourced to the local game warden or anti-poaching unit. In at least 2 instances that I can vouch for, a convicted lion poacher was punished by being forced to share his jail cell with 2 lions, behind bars, of course, so they couldn't reach him. And they had tons of room compared to him, but their food/water tray was right up against the separation bars. When the lions are there, the offender can't get more than 2 to 3 feet away from the lions. I didn't think it sounded too horrid, but apparently you can't imagine the stress it causes unless you undergo it. What is the strangest law that is still in effect in your country today, excluding the US? I grew up in Eastern Europe where mucking was still a criminal deterrent. I hear it still is to this day in some places, though more rarely. Basically, instead of going to prison, the offender is taken to a large hog farm, sat against the wall and cuffed up, 10 to 15 shovelfuls of manure poured over him, and left to sit for a day to think about his actions. My father instigating a bar fight growing up and was arrested after, and struck a deal to avoid prison but involved a 6-hour mucking sentence. I remember him crying on the scheduled day before the officers came to drive him out to the farm. I'd never seen him scared before. He was telling 10-year-old me that it's a good lesson that crime never pays. Thankfully he was fine and learned a lesson, and avoided bars. I remember mom not letting him sleep in the same bedroom for 2 weeks though. What is something people brag about that they shouldn't? How much Xanax they took and posting it all over social media. So many people in my high school took Xanax like it was candy and thought they were the shit. Like congrats, you're now a vegetable for a while. How trashed they get, every day/weekend. As a kid, I always saw my uncles get wasted daily. Fast forward to 2022 and most of them passed away before the age of 50. Smoking/vaping as a teenager. What is your most disgusting work story? I've posted this before but I found 3 dead bodies at the job I worked after college. The first 2 were shocking but not surprising. They were old and as they were in a halfway home situation they had had rough lives. One died of heart failure and the other of respiratory arrest. Both messed me up for a couple days. The third one still gives me nightmares. She had been dead in an unair-conditioned room for 3 days. The post-mortem contractions curled her into a ball, with her face pointed at the door, so when I opened it she was staring at me with no eyes in her sockets, and she had begun to digest herself, causing a black goo that went through the bed, box spring, and bed frame to make a puddle that ran up to the door. I quit that job about 6 weeks later. That was 20 years ago. Still see her in my nightmares sometimes. What is your most disgusting work story? Probably gonna pale in comparison to some people's stories, but one time when I was working at OfficeMax we checked the bathroom at the end of the day and there was just this absolutely gigantic shit clogging the toilet. No toilet paper, nothing else. Just this almost football-sized shit vastly bigger than the hole for it to go down. All of us were just in absolute awe and disgust trying to figure out how someone could leave a shit that large. Also, who was gonna take care of it? We all kept saying we didn't want to deal with it, then this German guy who recently moved to America just came in with gloves and a plastic stick and just started grinding that shit up. I forget his name, but he had more balls than the rest of us. Very nice dude on top of that. What's an automatic deal breaker on a first date? Well, about a month ago, I made plans to meet up for a date with this girl that I was really getting along with. Then after the plans were made she calls me and says, "Oh yeah, I should probably tell you that I'm engaged and my fiancé will be joining us, but it's alright, we have an open relationship and he's bringing his girlfriend too." Showing no/barely any interest in me personally. Only talking about themselves and not showing interest when I tell about myself. A dude once took his socks off while we watched a movie and started using his fingernails to dig stuff out from under his toenails. I was immediately out. What are some ways to make money fast? Marry a billionaire then divorce them for half their money. Works with millionaires too. Ask your chemistry teacher if you want to cook meth together. Paint your toes and get on Feet Finder. Start slinging those dogs on the internets. Make niche content like you stepping on cake and whatnot, boom. Oh, and lie about your gender. What makes a person boring? When their personality is just talking about how much they work. Answering questions but never asking them or attempting to continue the conversation. Absolute no sense of humor. Having no opinions of their own. What's the most annoying thing people do in public? Watch videos without headphones, especially fucking annoying on a train. Stop in a heavy foot traffic area then look offended when you say excuse me. Smoke. What makes you instantly depressed? Being unable to help someone I care about. Getting older. Just seems like the closer to old age I get, the less I enjoy the things I loved when I was younger. Seeing somebody I really trust not trusting me back the same way. Love, trust, applies to both, I guess. What's a subtle sign of low intelligence? Believing anything they read on social media. People who confuse their opinions with facts. The inability, or unwillingness, to change one's opinion when confronted with new information. If a person just digs their heels in no matter how much they're proven wrong on a given topic, they're an idiot. Calling something stupid because they can't understand it. Inability to see from another perspective. What are some early warning signs of an abusive relationship? Any behavior that seeks to control your behavior or isolate you from a support network. The biggest one, in my opinion, is attempts to make you manage their feelings for them via your personal conduct or management of their environment. 1. Mirroring. They seem to like everything you like and be everything you want, but if you look closer, they're not actually into those things, they're just pretending. If you can get them to say something about themselves before giving them a cue as to your opinion on that thing, then you say yours and it's different, and they shift to saying that's how they feel, they're mirroring. Also, if they say they're like you in some respect, forget, and later claim to be the opposite. Nothing they're saying at this point is real, it's all just them imitating you. 2. Love bombing. They adore you completely right from the outset, trying to make major life plans with you way too early, and put you on a pedestal as though you can do no wrong, often while comparing you to their exes very favorably. You're so much better than my ex. This will change dramatically later. What are some early warning signs of an abusive relationship? 3. Inability to apologize or take responsibility for anything. Somehow they're always right. Always. They have no flaws that they can acknowledge except cutesy ones that aren't really flaws. 4. Gaslighting. They'll be very convincing about their view of reality, but it just won't match up to evidence, to the point where you'll start to wonder if you're crazy because what you remembered and what they said seems so different. 5. Separating you from your closest friends. Somehow they know that your friends have done terrible things, perhaps to them. You never knew your friend was like that, and yet they're so convincing, perhaps you can't be around that friend anymore. 6. Physical violence and rage outbursts. Maybe not towards you. It might start with objects being broken. It'll only escalate. What are some early warning signs of an abusive relationship? 7. Lack of empathy combined with projection. They just don't read other people, and when they guess the emotions wrong, it's always rage or fear that they assume. They'll infer hostile or malicious intent from actions that were never intended that way, both your actions and the actions of others. 8. Inability to support you when you're having a rough time. They'll change the subject right back to them, immediately, and if they do feel they have to provide support, they'll begrudge you for that. 9. Addiction issues. Delivery drivers, what is the craziest order or request someone has placed? 250 pounds of raw chicken. When I went to deliver it, they said they meant raw turkey. Got stuck with 250 pounds of raw chicken. They once invited me in for hot rails. I did partake. I used to drive for DoorDash. We can do gas station and convenience store. Someone sent me to CVS at 2 a.m. for dish soap. Something that was $3 costed them $18 by time my tip and fees were added. Super ridiculous.